This is Miami All Access.
You had a really tough opponent, obviously, last week up in Columbus. This time Columbus came to you, so to speak. How did it feel to have a game like this to come back to after that?
I think it was good. More importantly, we just want to get to a point where we're developing good habits. So, I mean, regardless of who the opponent is, we kind of went into this as another opportunity to compete and form good habits going forward, because those are the things that's going to, kind of get the ship in the right direction in terms of going into the conference season. We want to get some things going. We're consistently doing the right thing on defense and offense and execution. So I think more so than anything, regardless of who the opponent is, we just saw it as another opportunity to get better.
You were 4 for 5 on threes. Do you feel like you're getting your stroke a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those nights. It was feeling good. I never really felt like I was losing any confidence in it. It's been feeling good in practice. So some nights you're going to have it, some nights you aren't. So I was grateful tonight was one of those nights.
Both of you guys are usually the leading guys on the team, along with Gio. But then Willie Moore, he had a good night tonight. He was 5 of 7. How important is that for you guys to get a fourth guy scoring?
It's definitely important. That gives teams another person to look out for. So it kind of just opens it up for more people. So that's one of our benefits of our team, because we have different guys who can step in for different nights. So that was good that he stepped up tonight for sure.
How do you transition this into conference play starting next month? A win like this to end the year kind of on a high note. How do you guys take the positives from this and move on to a bigger and better opponent?
Well, we'll get back on we have off tomorrow, so Wednesday we'll get back and watch film and just kind of break down the things that we thought we do well, we didn't do well, and just address our weaknesses like we have all season. I think that before we're going to start winning games consistently at a high level, you need to do certain things on defense on a consistent basis. So those are the things that we're trying to, kind of start tonight, form those habits, and build off of it in the coming weeks.
Being competitors and having that week off after the Ohio State game, how much were you guys kind of chomping at the bit to get the taste of that last game out of your mouth?
Yeah, I think I'll speak for everybody on the team that we all kind of left with a sour taste in our mouth. And, even when you're at home, you're grateful to have the time with them in the back of your head that's still kind of there. And I know me specifically, and I know Eric, we both we want to get another opportunity to compete. And tonight, and when we got to practice, when we got back, it was another great opportunity to get better. And I think that was important going forward.
Did it seem like a long week in between games?
I mean, when you get so little time to be at home, it doesn't really seem too long. But at the same time, yeah, in terms of basketball, it did seem long. Just it's a long lag between opportunities to compete. And we're happy to get back out there tonight, get things on the right track.
You were talking about the defense earlier. You guys, I mean, they kind of hung around a little bit in the first half, and then it seemed like you guys turned the defensive pressure up a little bit and made that big run at the end of the first half. Could you guys kind of sense a point during the game where their eyes just kind of glazed over, because it kind of looked like it started to get a little bit faster than what they wanted to go?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to just take advantage of what we had inside. We knew we had size, so we were going to be able to. Once we were able to get stops, we were going to be able to get out and run in transition, and that'll be able to give us a chance to set up our press. So once we started getting stops, running in transition, knocking down shots, then it just snowballed from there.
Eric, I guess you've seen the league and you've played the league. Do either of you guys see some things coming together here that you think are going to serve you well once you get to league play?
Yeah, our league's interesting is that, I mean, even if you look at the standings now, there's no clear best team in the whole conference. So you're going to have an opportunity to lose and win every single game every night, and I've learned that in my 4 years. Like, at a high level, there's any game you can win, any game you can lose in this league. So, just when, like I've mentioned a couple times, it's forming the habits that lead to winning. That's what's important going into the conference season. It's not necessarily who you're playing. It's that you're doing the little things so you're not beating yourself on a nightly basis.
Eric, you're out at the point. Do you see things coming together as far as the guys moving and everything?
Just like what Sully said, I'm gonna just keep saying like it's a process. I think it's obvious to everybody we're a better team when we're pushing it and we're faster and where everyone's getting into it. So, I think with time, it'll eventually form. So that's pretty much our deal.
I think then too they've used a lot of different combinations through non-conference, right?
True.
Yeah, Coop's been pretty consistent in switching up the rotations, trying to see what works, what doesn't work. Sometimes we'll use that 4-guard lineup. And that time tonight when we went back to having 2 bigs on the court where I thought was pretty effective. So, having multiple ways to attack different teams will bring some matchup problems.
You guys came out 12-3 run to start second half. After it had the big run the first half. How important was it for you guys to kind of come out second half, get a good start, kind of, put them away a little bit?
I've had a lot of games in my tenure here where we got a lead at the half and we just slowly just give it back just because we come out with a slow mentality to start the second half. So I kind of made a point to tell the guys that, we can't relax here. This team's fully capable of knocking down a bunch of shots and getting themselves back in the game. So we just wanted to have the same defensive mentality that we had at the end of the first half to start off the second. I thought we did a pretty good job of starting things off.
How's the head, Will? You took an elbow there to the head. You good?
Yeah, I'm fine. I caught an elbow to the lip. It was bleeding for a while, but it slowed down as the game went on.
Well, first of all, happy with the mentality and the effort that we had. Obviously, we could play a lot better, but coming off break and I should say coming off a couple of days of Christmas, I think it's always one of the concerns that you have as a coach as to how locked in are your guys when you return from that. So I thought from that aspect we came out with the right mentality and actually had pretty doggone good energy in the past couple of practices. So pleased with that. Turned the ball over twice in the first half, so that's a good thing. That makes me feel a lot better. We still got to continue to get better defensively. We've got to rebound the ball better on the offensive end and continue to work at that. But, we had 4 guys in double figures, and I thought our guys played together and were unselfish. And, of course, Sully was able to hit shots, and so that always helps. Questions?
Yes. I don't know how many times you'll be able to say you outdid the other team 42-4 in the paint. So you might savor the moment. But also, you were 42-4 in the paint, and Livingston had 2 points with 1 shot from the field. I find that amazing.
Well, when you look at that, you think about you hear 42-4 and you don't see the game. You think that we pounded the ball inside and just dominated. And quite frankly, we were able to score off the penetration into the paint, and that was the difference. But it is one of the few times that you will actually see a stat like that when you take a look at that stat and you look at the lines of the post guys. And so I can't tell you, besides Brian Odo, I think he may have been maybe one of his shots would have been considered a paint bucket from a guy that was sort of like a post-type player. But other than that, it was off penetration, and it started early in the game. Willie Moore got in a couple times early. G got in. Eric got in. Sully, we opened up the game, and Sully drove it right to the rim for the very first basket of the game. And so our guards were able to get in. And I thought the thing about that, though, is they were pretty much under control. We did get 1 or 2 charges, but for the most part, we weren't out of control. We were able to jump stop and be under control, which is important.
Is it a little bit comforting to see Sully go 4 for 5 from 3?
Well, it's always comforting, when I see those things go in. It feels good. And, good for him. Obviously, he's a kid that works extremely hard and tries to do everything you ask him to do. But we've also got to help him. We've got to do a better job of getting in and pitching out. And I don't want Sully to feel like he's absolutely have to make shots and has to carry us in that aspect. Do we need him to make shots? Yes. But, I think that's putting a little bit too much on him when you play with that mentality. The mentality is if you get a good open look, be ready to knock it in, feet ready, hands ready, and the guys on the other guys, when they drive and penetrate and they draw too, their job is to pitch it, and whether that's Sully that's open or whoever it may be is to play unselfish basketball.
Yeah, he had 4 of them, and it was 5 for 17 overall
Right.
from 3. I know Jared was 0 for 4. Is he
Right.
still looking for his stroke, so to speak?
Well, yeah, I think he is, and he shot the ball unbelievably well the last 2 days in practice. It was a joke how well he shot the ball. You know, one of the things I actually talked to Jared about, though, I think his first one is trying to work and not have that first one be so deep. You know, I mean, he's 4 or 5 feet behind the line. You still get 3 points for it as long as you're behind it and being ready and getting good shots. And I thought, you know, he missed a couple earlier, and I thought he got a little bit hesitant on a couple that maybe he could have shot, and that can happen. But just, you know, working and taking good shots, but yet and still, if you're not making shots, you got to find other ways to be productive, and whether that's driving the ball, jump stopping, and going up strong. I thought he had a drive there in the second half where he got in, but he didn't finish as strong as he needed to finish and didn't get a foul call. So, you know, there are other ways to, you know, for him to have an impact on the basketball game. But, you know, I don't want him to just become reliant on just, you know, shooting the 3. And, of course, he had 5 other shots, and just continue to be productive.
Willie had a pretty good game tonight. How important is that for you guys going into conference play here in the next couple of weeks, getting Willie going?
Well, here's the deal. It's important that all our guys have good games, because I think the one thing you notice about this team is this is a team that's going to have to do it together. You know, we need everyone. We can't, you know, I don't know if we have a guy that's going to every night go out and get us 18 points a night. And so when you're like that, you have to do it together, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the other thing that it spotlights is that when you have to do it together, you have to be incredibly consistent. So you need consistency from all parties. And that's the thing that you have to have. I mean, you know, there are nights when, you know, Jordan was playing. Jordan was going to get 34, and guys could not be consistent. He was going to be able to carry. Well, when you have 5 guys, 6, 7 guys that have to do it, all guys have to be locked in and focused every night, and that's who this group is. Now, the beauty of it is if you get that consistency, and as the year goes and your team gets better, it actually becomes a pretty doggone pretty thing to watch. But we're not there yet because we're inconsistent in areas, and that's the area we've got to really improve on.
One of those areas, the first 5 games, free throws were abysmal. It was
you guys
tough.
love to remind me of this. Jeez. Okay.
But things are getting better. 71% tonight, and that's
Right.
right around the 75% you guys have had the last 6 or 7. So,
Well, hopefully we get it going, and when we head into conference play here, that we'll be right back where we were last year, and, you know, everyone forget. But we didn't start out shooting the ball well from the free throw line. Let's not kid ourselves. And you know, it's something we've been working on. I think part of it is stepping up, having some confidence. I think LJ missed 2 tonight, and, you know, and got to get better at that. Can't go up to the line and miss 2. But we shoot them today in practice. We split them up in the guards and bigs, and the bigs beat the guards today. And, you know, they miss 8 out of 60 or whatever. And so, you know, to do them in practice now, you got to transfer that from practice to the game.
Coming off break and with the conference getting ready to start here in about a week, how big was this for you guys confidence-wise?
Well, Uncle Mo is a friend of all of us who have ever played the game of basketball, and so the key is that, you know, that we get Uncle Mo over to the house and we feed him well, because we need a lot of momentum to get going here, that's for sure. And so it's the start, you know, but now we have that, and I think it's a lot easier in many ways to teach after a win. You know, because I think the thing you don't want to do is you never want to feel like in coaching like you're losing your group. And one of the things that can happen is if you start having failure after failure after failure, it's hard. And so from a coaching standpoint, you have to really, really find ways that you're able to touch on them and make sure that they're still listening to you and everything else. And we're not at that point, but I think anyone would tell you it's always a concern when it's in the back of your mind if you really get into these streaks where you're just losing and losing. So if we can continue just to get better and build on this, we'll be off tomorrow, but we'll certainly come in on Wednesday and we'll watch the tape of this game and learn from it. The thing I was harping on with the team the whole game was being consistent with good habits. And, you know, that was a team, you know, no disrespect to Capital, that, you know, from a talent standpoint, overall talent, we were better. then, and they certainly competed and played hard. And I don't say that in a braggadocious manner whatsoever, but they run sets. They do a good job of executing and doing their things. And so for us, being consistent with good habits is defending their actions the right way, not letting up, trying to shortcut something. And there were a couple of times when we broke down because we didn't, and that was one of the things that, we were harping on in our huddles in being consistent with your good habits. And it's the same thing I talked to the team about after the game, just having very, very good habits. And in order to have good habits, you have to do it every single time. Every single time. You do it over and over again. Before you know it, you don't know you're doing it. And we're not there yet. And trying not to fight coaching. I think sometimes, you may do things and, okay, it works, but is it a habit? Is it an action that is going to work over the course of time? It may work this time, but for the most part, does it work the other 9 or 10 times? And that's just trying to get them to buy into that.
You guys had that big run at the end of the first half, and then you come out and you start with the 12-3 run second half. How important was it for you guys to come out second half and start well and kind of put them away a little bit?
Well, very important, so you didn't have to hear my mouth. First 5 minutes is obviously a critical point when you start the second half. I thought that was really good that we were able to come out and get on that run from the beginning. We've seen it. We've learned from it. You let teams hang around, and now you get down the stretch of game. They start making shots. Funny things can happen. And now you put yourself in a tough situation. I mean, they make their first shot. They bank a 3 off the backboard, and I'm like, geez, you got to be kidding me. But coming out and imposing our will on the game to start the second half, I thought that was very important that we come out and do that. What am I?
Not from this game, but heading into conference play, was non-conference.
Well, I would tell you, I think one of the things is that probably here over the past week of practice, I think this team is really, really starting to understand now, whether or not we do it, the importance of being able to get stops. That sounds simple, but it's not, because as I told them, we actually do a pretty decent job when we get in transition. If you want to get into transition and you want to make your life easier, you'll get stops. And if you can get stops, it changes the whole concept of the game. And it takes a whole lot of pressure off of our team offensively if you can just clamp down. And not that we're going to be able to just lock people down an entire game, but one of the things is that as I look at the past couple of practices, which has really been encouraging, we've sort of done one of our drills completely different, and we started scoring it. And it's a drill that should take 8 minutes, but because of what we've done, it has typically taken about 30 minutes of our practice in the first part, and they are competing their tails off and getting after it. And there's so much that we get done in that segment that there are things I'll change around in practice, but I think now the guys are starting to buy into it, and we started statting it tonight. And so it'll be interesting to see how many times we can really get stops in a row and as we chart them. So I'm encouraged by that. I'll be even more encouraged if Sully keeps making shots, if we make more shots, and if we stay around 9 turnovers. Then I'll feel a whole lot better. 9 isn't where I want to be. I'd like to be around 6. That's me being greedy. But if you tell me we're going to be 9 and we're not going to be in double figures, then I'll tell you, for the most part, we've given ourselves an opportunity to score, and we didn't help the opposing team.